Have you ever wondered what it would be like to live in your RV stationary full time? Well, everybody's experience is a little bit different. And in this video, I'm going to share with you what my experience has been over the last 5 years. I will be addressing the challenges and our solutions, our maintenance issues, some financial implications, and what it's like to live full time in an RV park. And be sure you stay to the end because I'm going to give you the top 5 things that we purchased or did to our RV to really make it feel like a home. So let's begin by talking about space limitations, probably one of the biggest issues you will deal with as you're downsizing to live full-time stationary in an RV. One of our first purchases, and even today, one of my favorite one, is this ottoman we purchased for the end of our bed. It's just the right space to give us room to get from the doorway into our closet or to that side of the bed, but it also serves great storage purposes in there, and it also allows Izzy to be able to jump on that and then safely onto the bed. Now, if you're lucky enough to have storage under your bed, one of the things that we have found as a solution to make that storage expand a bit is putting things in packing cubes, boxes. Containing as much as possible, as tightly as possible, will allow you to store more than you thought possible. We are happy with our choice to get a bed that's a little bit smaller, a queen size instead of a king, in order to have 2 end tables. The problem was there wasn't a lot of space on the end tables because of the curvature of the RV, but also it can get really messy. So our solution are these little tabletop organizers we got from Walmart. My biggest space issue in the bedroom was the closet, and by condensing the clothes that I put in my closet that I use all the time, by making space and finding the right kind of drawers to put in there and baskets to use, I was able to really make a closet that is functional for me. Here's a whole video on it, and just know that I've made changes since that video, so you make the changes that would work for you. The bathroom is probably the place that has the least amount of storage, so you have to be the most creative there. Using vertical space is critical. Wherever you can condense and save space is also a really great idea when you are experiencing space challenges. And allow yourself to be a bit creative. We actually have our toilet paper in the shower because we spend more time, frankly, on the toilet than we do in the shower. So when it's time to take a shower, we just take it out. We also utilize the space in the shower for our trash can, our laundry basket, and clothes that we might want to wear again in the next couple days. So let's talk about the kitchen. My biggest challenge. And frankly, if I wasn't stationary, I don't know that I would like this model because the kitchen storage is horrible. I have redone it several times. Here are my challenges and my solutions. This section of the kitchen countertop actually slides out, and there are 2 sections underneath it with a wooden cutting board on top of it. The problem, very narrow. The underneath part is just a couple shelves that are pretty much useless because of how narrow they are. And if you want anything in there, it's really hard to get it out. So you might as well just use it for storage. My solution here was to use the cart, this little island that we had in our previous home, and it holds our silverware, our plates, our bowls, and just our everyday dishes and paraphernalia. I eventually painted it gray so it would match the rest of our decor. This cupboard is still a work in process. I've had all kinds of different things in here, all my spices, but I couldn't reach them. It's in a really awkward angle. So the one thing that does work in here right now is my measuring cups, and I have extra tea, and up in the top shelf, just stuff I hardly ever use. But I'm using these baskets that have the handles on them. So this allows me to slide it out, put it on the counter, get what I want, and slide it back in. Now, I actually thought our pantry was going to be my biggest nightmare, and it ended up being the one I was so proud of. Now, it's had a couple generations, but the way we have organized it really allows me to be able to utilize all of my baking kinds of things and all of the things that I use pretty much in the kitchen to have them close to my fingertips. I've got a lot more about how I did this on our website, and I'll put a link to it in the comments below. Now, originally, I had my cups and glasses and things like that in this side corner cabinet. And it just didn't work, and I didn't have a good place for my spices. So I'm happy that I changed it to my spice cabinet. It's working pretty good, although I've received a couple ideas in my research recently that I think is going to be the answer. So stay tuned for for that video. When it comes to the living room, nothing shouts comfort more than having rugs, especially when you live in the mountains like we do. Now, much of the seating that you find in an RV nowadays have footstools on them, but they're often in the way. So we added a couple of smaller footstools that we could move around and we could use as storage. The things that we found to help with storage was this space under our couch. We actually cut into it, found this space. Now, if you have your slide close in, you're going to lose that space. But our slide stays out all the time. Believe it or not, this is how many storage boxes we can fit underneath that couch through that hole. Now, when you are stationary, you have the opportunity, if your park or your space allows, to use outside storage as well. So in our case, we have this bench type storage, which people can sit on, but it also stores all of our outdoor cushions. Also have this small outdoor shed. It meets the requirements of our park, and it allows us to put things that will not be totally impacted by the weather. And then finally, if you do have a deck, don't forget you can utilize under your deck for storage too. Just make sure it doesn't become an eyesore. Cover it up if it does, or clean it out. Privacy can be an issue when you're living in an RV, and it just depends on the type of RV you have. Some of our RVs have really big windows, and you can actually look like you're living in a fishbowl. There are certain times of the day where if your windows are blacked out, you really can't see in them. But at other times when that sunset's happening and the lights turn on inside, it could be just a peep show going on, depending on what's going on inside the RV. Be sure to know what people can see outside of your RV. And sometimes we like to put curtains up, and that's great. And sometimes those curtains are more see-through than the blackout shades we had. So just be cognizant of that. You'll also want to be aware of how far your voice can be heard outside of your RV. Our walls are not quite as thick as some of our brick and mortar homes were. And even though they're winterized and they've got good R values now in many cases, the sound still travels outside of the walls very easily. And if you are in your senior years, you may be hard of hearing, or you may live with somebody that's hard of hearing and you have to talk loud. The later it gets during the day, the more that can become an issue. Or if you're having, let's just say, a little discussion here and there, that can be disconcerting for your neighbors if they can hear you as well. Now, Bob and I just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. So if we didn't like being together, that would not have happened. We would not have been able to last that long. But I'm telling you, in the dead of winter, there are times in a 420 square foot RV, I want some privacy. I want some alone time. And so we've worked out a few things that seem to work for us. Maybe they'll work for you too. It does seem to help if you have different sleeping and dressing times. During the summertime when Bob goes fishing, he leaves very early in the morning. This allows me time to wake up and to have a little bit of alone time, to get dressed and have that privacy and personal time and space that I really enjoy. On the other hand, during the winter months, I get up early. I leave Bob and Izzy to sleep as long as they want, and the night beforehand, I take my clothes and I put them in the bathroom. That way I can shut the door, I can protect their sleeping environment, I can be as quiet as possible, and then I go to the very back into the garage where my office is, and I can work on my projects there. Another way to have a little bit of personal time is to select different times during the week where you each run your own errands on different days. This gives you a little breather. It gives you a little bit of time to either be away from the RV and everybody that's in it, or to be in the RV alone while the other person is out doing their errands. I'm not a very big TV watcher, but I do enjoy YouTube. My husband, on the other hand, he watches movies like crazy, but he doesn't mind watching them on his phone. I can't stand watching a movie on a phone. So when you have different kinds of preferences, it makes it a little bit easier on how you can get a little bit of alone time when it comes to watching entertainment. So sometimes Bob will go into the bedroom and he will watch. We have a TV in the bedroom, but most of the time he only watches football there, and he'll watch movies on his phone. Where when I want to watch a show, if I binge watch, I will watch it on the big screen TV in the living room, But my YouTube entertainment, I tend to watch on my little tablet. And I will do that with earphones in the living room when we're together, or in the bedroom, maybe even after the other two have gone to sleep. There are many things as an RV owner that you need to maintain, especially when you're living stationary in it full time, like making sure that you are cleaning out the gutters, that you are changing your anoid rods as you need to, that you have heated water hoses if they're needed because of the temperatures you live in. But regardless of all the preventative things you do, there are things that are going to happen in your RV home. Our most frustrating and most costly repair so far in our RV has been when our refrigerator completely went out. It was a compressor. It was close to $3,000 worth of repairs needed. That was devastating, and it was fairly close in our ownership of our RV. While the manufacturer of the refrigerator would not help us, luckily the original owners of Grand Design did chip in, and they did pay a portion of it. Here are a few things that we learned through that whole process that I hope could really help you. We were reminded that RVs are not brick and mortar homes. While the possibility of living full-time in an RV is greater now than it ever has been, the equipment in them are still not made forever. Not only understand the system, but we have to treat the systems with respect. We need to provide that preventative and proactive maintenance. I mean, if you want your roof to last longer, you need to take really good care of it so that you don't have the cracks, the leaks, and the issues in the future. I've recently been told what a good idea it is to track the investment you not only have in your RV, but in its resale value so that you can weigh the pros and cons of investing in a costly repair if it should arrive. You also want to be aware of the environmental factors that could impact your home. And I'm not talking about just fire. I'm not talking about just the snow or ice or even a falling tree. What I am also talking about is just the extreme temperatures that you might live in. One of the things that we found was because of where we live, we have some extreme heat and some extreme cold. When we have the extreme cold, if our refrigerator falls below a certain temperature, we must have a heat lamp on in there to help it keep from freezing. If in the summertime we have too hot of a temperature, then our refrigerator can overheat, and thus we have to make sure we have a fan in there. So know what your environmental factors that you might be facing could be, and make adjustments for your seasonal weather regardless of where you are and whatever those extremes might be. Now, this is not going to be one of those videos where I break down and I give you all of our numbers because, frankly, I don't know how we can follow those. Everybody's different and everybody has a different experience. So there are a few things I do want to point out to you, and especially if you're considering this lifestyle, just some things to think about. Just like if you were going into a brick and mortar home, there are some initial costs that you will be required. Now, in this case, it may be a space rent if you're going into an RV park, or land rent, or something of that sort, which means you have to bring your abode with you. So is that going to be a brand new RV that you are going to have a mortgage on, or is it going to be something you own outright? The setup costs are going to include things like towing, for instance. We purchased a fifth wheel, a very large one, and we did not have a vehicle that would pull that RV trailer to the space that we had rented. So we had to hire somebody that was able to do that. Propane. And if you're going to be long-term in one spot, you may be lucky enough to then just get a propane tank. And one of the things we've learned is that after you've been there a year, you can actually be put on a budget plan so you can pay it over more months and actually lock down a really good rate at the beginning of the propane year, whatever that might be. If you're going to be living in your RV in a park, you have to really do your research. Some parks will allow you to live there in the off season at a lower rate. Some actually make you pay a higher rate during the on seasons, and some will actually give you a lower year-round rate. Make sure you have a really good budget. Just like you would in a bricks and mortar home, you're going to have some expenses that are going to be stagnant, and you're going to have other expenses that are going to fluctuate depending on the year, and always have some kind of a savings for that emergency repair that may need to happen. Now, in my 5-year review, thinking about, was it beneficial financially for us to live here? In all honesty, I'm going to say it really made no difference. First of all, we did not move into this RV to save money. We did not move into the RV to live cheaply. There are some things that are not as expensive as it was in our brick and mortar, but there are other things that are more expensive. And we were looking for a quality of life more than a financial savings. Now, all that said, I do think it's wise, and as we go more and more into our senior years, we are looking at those considerations. Again, not to live cheap, but to live wisely. And finally, what has our experience living in an RV park been like? Every park has their own community and social aspects to it. So in our particular situation, community is not really something that the park itself encourages or sets up opportunities to really build in any way. So any type of community that we have here, we have had to build ourselves. If that is something that's really important to you, that would be something you'd really want to look for in any park that you were considering. Now, some parks actually will have things like community centers, and they will have laundromats and showers and a variety of other kinds of things. The place that we're at does not have that, but we don't need it. It was not important to us. We chose to have a washer dryer in our unit. We have a functioning shower that works just fine. And again, we are choosing and building our own community. There's always challenges when you live anywhere, not just an RV park. Issues such as noise, because you are very close together. You only have as much space when you're living in a park as you are allotted. We happen to be very privileged in that we have an oversized lot, and that has allowed us to do more in our space. But we stay here full-time, year-round as well. Even though you're full-time, it doesn't mean that everybody in the park will be. So there is a transient nature to some of the neighbors that you might have. Every park has rules, and in most cases, those rules are really good and they are uniformly enforced. That doesn't happen everywhere. And so you have to really understand the park management, what their style is, can you function with them? So here are my key takeaways from 5 years of living stationary in an RV. And if you want to do this, then I say be sure to get an RV that you can feel comfortable living in. You know the things that give you comfort. Make sure that RV has that in some way, or you can make it work in that way. Otherwise, you are not going to be happy living in your RV. Second of all, make the kind of changes that's going to make your RV your home. My top 5 things that make my RV more homey. Number 5, this bath shower caddy that you can see here I'm using facing my sink. It was the small amount of room that I needed to help me make my bathroom more homey and more functional for my morning routine. 4 has got to be this simple little end table that we put in the living room. It is connected to a power strip, which then allows me to have in the middle of my living room power station, connected to a lamp, and storage. And it has just made all the difference and made my living room a lot more homey. Number 3 is my backyard. Having this wonderful, beautiful little backyard, especially in the summers, allows me to relax, and it's just a very comfortable, homing feeling. Number 2 is my coffee bar. This is fairly new. You couldn't have it if you were a mobile nomad, but as a stationary RV, it fits perfectly in here, and it gives me more room to put my dishes in, which allowed me to really shift the things in my kitchen and make it much more functional and comfortable. And number 1 has got to be my mattress. Everybody knows an RV mattress that comes with the brand new RV is just for looks, because you just can't sleep on them. They're horrible. But we purchased this mattress from Mattress Insider, 2 or 3 years ago, and it has made all the difference in how we sleep in our home. I really hope that this has been a fairly comprehensive look at stationary RV living, And I just want to give you the encouragement, if you're considering RV living, to weigh the pros and cons carefully. And for those of you that are already living stationary in an RV, I hope you really gained some thoughts, some ideas, some insights from this video. What's next for us? Well, we have something up our sleeve, but that's for a whole nother video. Hey, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. And would you do me a big favor? If you like this video, would you like and subscribe? And be sure to use the links below. We want to bring you a lot more content, and that is what will make it happen.